Hello, my wonderful, beautiful friends. Guys, welcome back to r/EntitledPeople, where Karens steal from others and then complain that it's not enough. Guys, you know entitled people. If you've been tuning into these episodes, you know the stories are wild, so I hope you enjoy them today. Subscribe if you haven't, and hey, don't shake your heads too hard. I'm a 20-year-old female. I recently turned 20, and I had a party to celebrate turning 20. It was a small gathering at my favorite sushi restaurant with only my immediate family and a few friends. Everything was going well until it came time for presents. You see, in my family, there's a tradition that when the firstborn turns 20, they're given this pocket watch that was owned by my great-grandfather. When our country was still colonized by the British, my great-grandfather was taken in by some missionaries and he became a teacher. As a teacher, he was super instrumental to the community and partly funded the first black-owned school there. He then became headmaster, and as a thanks, the community chipped in to get him a pocket watch. When my grandfather turned 20, he was given the watch, and it became a tradition. As per tradition, I was expecting to get the watch. I'd even made an effort of hinting how I wanted a watch for the whole year prior. Among the presents, I saw this small box and got excited thinking it was the watch. The watch came in this wooden casing, with a velvet lining inside, and it was about the same size as the box I saw. I made a deliberate choice to open that box last, to make sure the night ended on a highlight. When it came time to open the box, it was a watch, but it was a digital one. Now, it was a good watch to be honest, but it wasn't the watch. My dad was really excited, as he went on prattling about the features of the watch, how it could count steps, connect to my phone via Bluetooth, control music, measure my heart rate, etc, etc. While he was talking, I burst into tears and then left the table running. My dad follows and asked why I was sad, and I said I wanted the watch, the one that belonged to great-grandfather. He said he wanted to give it to my younger brother, who's 12, since he's a boy. If he gives it to me, it will leave the family since I'll get married to a man and join his family. Now, this came as a blow since I've always been closer to my dad than my brother, and my brother isn't even interested in watches. We then got into an argument, and it ends with him saying that my immaturity over such a small matter is why he wouldn't have given me the watch even if I was a boy. I left after he said that. That was 2 weeks ago, and we haven't spoken since. So am I the a-hole? Okay, so a lot of people have mixed emotions about this post. Some people say that she's in fact the a-hole for feeling so entitled, expecting that she should have gotten her grandfather's watch. Others are saying that she has every right to be upset, as the father's choosing not to give her the watch since she's not a boy. Guys, I don't blame OP for being upset at all. Her dad's literally telling her that she won't be family after she marries, so that's why he'd rather give the watch to his son, so it can continue to be passed down in the family. Guys, I'm not a fan of dad's behavior at all. And watch, the son just decides to be child-free in the future. Whoops. So I work at a little coffee shop in my town. So in my shop, we have a tip jar beside the register. This morning, I had the weirdest encounter with an entitled Karen. My coworker and I had to literally pinch ourselves after what happened. A woman comes in looking to buy a coffee and a box of donuts. The total comes out to be around $10. When I tell her the total, she literally sticks her hand into our tip jar and she takes out all the bills and coins and starts counting them. Now I was watching her, just speechless. Since we had just opened not too long before she came in, our tip jar didn't contain much. It was only $5.75. I know that because she literally shouts, "Ugh, you only have $5.75 in here? That won't do." The woman got angry that we didn't have more money in our tip jar. She then complains that it's so little money, and I'm baffled at what's going on. At this point, she says, "Well, how many donuts can I put back to equal out to this amount?" And I'm thinking, excuse me? She then says, "Well, can I put back like 2 donuts? Can you see if the $5.75 will cover everything if I put back 2 donuts?" I told her the money inside the tip jar is for employees to split, and that if she's taking it, she's technically stealing from us. She then gets angry and argues that she can, since it's money technically donated by customers, and don't I dare accuse her of being a thief. I literally didn't know what to say at this point to her. Thankfully, a customer behind her chirped up and he said that she's not allowed to steal the money that was intended for us. Hearing that everybody was against her at this point, the woman throws the money on the counter and said that she didn't need our stupid money anyways, and then she left. So yeah, that's my little story of how a Karen tried to steal our tips and then complained it wasn't enough. Now, I'm just going to assume that it's not the first time she's tried to pull this little stunt, guys. Like, I've seen a few people reach into tip jars if they were short a few cents or something while paying, but the audacity of this woman to just count the money and then complain that it's not enough to pay for her stuff is ridiculous. Like, did she even come in with money? So this story happened a few months back. I believe at the end of November. So a little background. I moved to a new state in July, and I met this girl with a son around the same age as my daughter. We became friends. Sometime in September or October, we're chatting about birthday cakes, and I casually mentioned that I like to decorate them. I then send her a few photos at her request, and she asks me to make one for her son. I say sure, because why not? Around that same time, she offers to pick up my laptop from another friend, as they live in the same town as her sister. This is important later on, as months later she still hadn't picked it up. About 3 days before the party, she lends me $10 for something, and I agree to pay her back in a week. The next day, I spend $15 to $20 on cake supplies to make her son's cake. Now mind you, I'm not even invited to the party, but whatever. The night before the party, I tell her that she'll need to pick it up, as I'm heavily pregnant and she lives a good distance away. I don't drive, and my husband's gonna be out, and it's at least a 30-minute walk. It was also supposed to snow, so I didn't want the cake ruined if I slipped or anything. She agrees to pick it up. So the day of the party, I get up at 6 a.m. and start prepping the cake. It's a 2-layer Ninja Turtle cake. At around 8 o'clock, I get a text that goes something like this. She says, "You need to drop the cake off to my boyfriend by 11. I need it by then, and you'd better bring that $10 you owe me." At that time, I'm shaping the cake and pause to respond with, "I thought you were picking it up. It's snowing and I don't want to drop it, and we agreed on $10 next week. I don't have it right now." Of course, she's furious. I get a, "Bring that $10. I'm not picking up the cake. You said you'd make it, and my boyfriend only works 10 minutes up the street from you." Now, I originally tried to avoid mentioning the cost of the cake because I'd agreed to do it for free. But at this point, I feel she doesn't understand that the reason I don't have the $10 is because I spent it on the cake. So I respond by telling her that the money I had went to supplies, so she'll have to wait at least a couple of days. I literally didn't have it, or I would have given it to her. And of course, that's not good enough. She says, "No, you said you'd do the cake in exchange for your laptop. I don't have to get it, you know. You know what? You need to bring $20 because this is ridiculous." At this point, I'm pissed. I'm trying to be nice, making a cake for her son's first birthday, and here she is, totally being a bitch. So I walk away from the cake and text back, "Look, you haven't even gotten the stupid laptop. It's been months. I'm gonna get it myself, so forget about it. I'll bring the cake by 11, but I don't have your money. I'm sorry. Now please let me finish doing the cake because I'm running out of time, and I'm not done decorating." Now at this, she loses her mind, still demanding the cash and the cake, telling me that no money or cake means no laptop. And then she tells me she's already got it, so I can't go get it myself. Now, this is a lie. I got it a week later from the friend. She then says if I don't give her the money, she'll just sell my laptop. At that point, I'm done, so I just respond with a, "Okay, whatever, I'm not making the cake. You just had me waste $15 to $20 on supplies, stole my laptop, and destroyed a friendship over $10. Have a good day, and tell your son I said happy birthday." After this, she sent many texts flipping out that I called her a thief, demanding the cake and money, and ending it with, "Don't text me again." My husband got home around 1 p.m. to a cake frosted green, with the words that said, "Stupid people get no cake" written on it, on the table, and me sitting in bed just stewing over the conversation. He walked into our bedroom with a huge grin on his face and asked what happened because I'm typically a super giving person to friends, so something good had to have gone down for me to refuse to finish the cake. The woman never got anything, and we still don't speak. If she hadn't flipped out, she would have gotten the money and cake no problem. Now, I'm not usually a jerk, but seriously, she pushed me too far. Good on OP for not giving her that cake. Her response was totally appropriate. Guys, I would have taken it a step further and been super petty, and wrote "Happy birthday to me" with a smiley face on it, and sent her a picture of that. But with that said, I hope the woman's son got some sort of a birthday cake, and mom didn't totally ruin his first birthday. And I wonder why the heck she needed that $10 so badly. Okay, when I moved in with my now husband, I decided to sell my air mattress. Since we now had a guest bedroom with a real bed, I posted on Craigslist that I had an air mattress for a year or two, only used it twice, and bought it for $175, so I listed it for $50. I also put in the listing that I've never had any issues with it. which is true. So a woman emails me and asks me if she could come see it. I agreed. She then asked me to make sure it was set up so she could check it out. Fair enough. I inflated it and I was ready when she arrived. She spent no less than 25 minutes testing it out, lying on it, rolling around, asking me to be really quiet so she can listen for air leaks. All was good, and again I told her I'd never had any issues with it, but only used it twice. So after 30 minutes of watching her roll around in my living room, she said she would take it, but she only had $30. I told her again that I bought it for $175 and I wouldn't take less than $50 for it. She then told me a long story about her limited income and how it was used, and I wouldn't get somebody else to pay me that much, etc, etc. I refused to budge, and she grumpily went home to get more money. I took it, gave her the mattress, she left, and I praised the good Lord that I would never have contact with her again. Right? Wrong. So over a year later, I'm at work and my cell phone rings. I pick it up and here's the conversation. I say, "Hello?" She says, "Hi. It's me," followed by a long pause. I then ask, "I'm sorry, who?" "It's me. Don't you remember? You sold me an air mattress a while ago." I then say to her, okay, can I help you?" She then says, "Actually, yeah, you can. So once I bought the air mattress, I used it with some of my friends, and they said it deflates a little at night." She then goes on and says, "I think it had a hole in it. We haven't been able to use it because it deflates." Now at this point, I'm getting a little frustrated and I need to get back to work, and I ask, "Is there something you need?" She says, "Yes, I'd like my money back. You sold me a defective product." I told her, "No, I didn't. I told you all the details of the product, gave you a very fair price, and you tested it out yourself before buying it. I also haven't heard from you for over a year." The woman then says to me, "Well, I called to try to give you a chance to do the right thing here. So, are you gonna do the right thing or not?" I say to her, "The right thing? I haven't heard from you in over a year. If you had an issue within the first week after I sold it to you, I might be willing to refund you. At this point, anything could have happened to it." She then says, "Well, that's very disappointing. You need to refund me because there's a hole in it." I told her I'm not refunding the money. I then hung up and blocked her number. Now, I'm pretty sure she's still out there counting her pennies and trying to reach me. Guys, I can't believe that woman kept OP's phone number for over a year. And hey, I hope she didn't show up at OP's house demanding that refund. For this story, let's do the setting first. I work at a fast food restaurant, and I've seen my fair share of choosing beggars, entitled people, etc, and often they're not too bad. They just want something extra. Or something we don't have anymore, and they get mad about it. Like I said, it's not too bad for what I've experienced so far, but this one guy really takes the cake. So we offer coffee at a reduced price for people over 65 years. It's just a little something extra that we like to do for seniors. So this guy, let's call him John Doe, comes in one day, and he was standing behind one of these seniors, and he heard that he only paid the reduced price. John Doe was surprised when he needed to pay the full price. Now mind you, John Doe is nowhere near 65 years old. I explained to him why this was and how it works. He then goes off about how ridiculous it was that he had to pay full price because he was a hardworking citizen, and these elderly people do nothing else than just sit around the entire day barely contributing to society. Meanwhile, the senior was still standing there, while John Doe went on with this angry speech with some colorful language thrown in there. It was almost embarrassing. Then he threatened to come back with a lawyer and said he would sue us, saying, "I'm sure I'll win this because this is discrimination." But off he went with his coffee and his newspaper. It took a while, but eventually he did come back. Of course, without a lawyer. But again, he went on this rant how unfair it was that he had to pay full price. John Doe explained how he went to another restaurant, which also belonged to the same franchise as mine, and he got his coffee there for the reduced price. I once again explained to him that I can't do that because those are simply the rules that I have to follow. He then told me he knew the supervisor at our restaurant, and my supervisor promised him that he would always get his coffee at the senior rate. John Doe says next time he would talk to my supervisor, and my supervisor would put me in my place. Now, I'm not an idiot, so after this happened and upper management came in that day, I went to them and explained the situation. They said, "No, he has to pay full price. He's not 65 years old." Now, luck would have it that my supervisor came in that same day, and I told him about John Doe. The supervisor said, "I don't give coffee at a reduced price to non-seniors, and even if I did, it would be a one-time deal." A few months went by without ever seeing John Doe. Then the other restaurant closes down because they were rebuilding the place, so John Doe shows his face again at our place yesterday. Before even trying to order a coffee, he tried to recruit a senior who was minding his own business reading a newspaper to buy him a coffee so he would get it at a reduced price. The senior said he would, and the senior ordered himself a coffee and then an extra coffee. Now I had noticed this and I let the senior have his coffee at the reduced price, but the other coffee at full price. So John Doe begrudgingly gave the senior extra cash so he could cover the entire cost. Afterwards, when John Doe left, I went to the senior and I explained the situation, how John Doe's been acting towards us. The senior already had a feeling that something was going on because he's a regular customer and he knows me normally as a friendly type. Today, John Doe shows up again, and once again he tried to recruit the same senior to buy him a coffee. The senior explained to him that he wouldn't do it and told him why. So John Doe was mad and demanded to speak to me. So when I showed up at the front, he once again goes on a rant how he knows the supervisor and he always got his coffee at a reduced price at the other place, and how ridiculous this is. Now that the other place is temporarily closed, that he has to pay full price in our restaurant. I told him I spoke to my upper management and my supervisor, and they both told me he had to pay full price. He literally explodes saying, "You're calling me a liar? I will now go to the other place and I will tell them what happened here. And when I come back, you'd better watch yourself." Now, by this time, I was just done with him, especially because the other place is still closed for another week, so tomorrow he's gonna be here again. So I once again told my upper management what happened and how the guy's been acting. They were firm and said, "This guy has to pay full price, and if he doesn't like it and goes off again, you can kick him out." Meanwhile, they begin to contact the supervisors at the other restaurant. And then the big twist comes. So it turns out the other restaurant, he does get his coffee at a reduced price. However, the current upper management there doesn't know how or why it's done because it happened before they were there. So when I heard this, I felt my stomach drop. I knew he'd be back tomorrow to yell at me again, and that they're gonna tell me that I need to give it to him at a reduced price. But no, I had that wrong. My supervisors told us that he would not get his coffee at the reduced price. Furthermore, the other restaurant's now gonna have to refuse to give it to him at that reduced price. My upper management will be in before opening tomorrow to handle the guy, if he turns up, so I wonder how that'll end. Now, if he had just accepted the full price without going off, he might still have his coffee at a reduced price at the other place. Now he has to pay full price everywhere. The entitlement of this guy is astounding. Like, how can you not comprehend that it's a senior discount? And was it really worth all that trouble he went through to save what, like 50 cents on coffee? Like, how much is a senior discount actually saving him if he's willing to go through all that trouble? I'm a paramedic in a place that has some HOAs and apartment complexes. Now, we hate responding to apartment complexes because there's nothing but assigned parking and no fire zones. Basically, if we can't find a space to fit in, we have to block the road. My agency also uses first responder vehicles and ambulances. The first responder, as implied, usually arrives first, so we do our best to leave room for the ambulance to fit in. Well, last week, we get a call at the apartment complex, and I'm the first responder. As I pull up to the address, by some miracle, there's a spot only 2 apartments away. Great, I can leave the road clear for the ambulance. Now, as soon as I park, out comes this guy screaming that I can't park there. So I do the "are you serious" look and say it's a medical emergency. The guy says he doesn't care. I can't park there. Keep in mind, my vehicle has enough lights to make a Christmas tree jealous. I just grab my stuff, lock the vehicle, and keep going. The whole time, the guy's screaming that he's gonna call the cops. I tell him the cops are already on the way, as they respond to medical emergencies. The cop gets there while I'm with the patient, and tells him to basically pound salt. The cop enters the apartment, and then the guy really goes full-blown entitled. He enters the apartment, comes into the room where I'm treating the patient, and he starts ranting and raving how I have to move my vehicle. I then look at the cop and say, "Get him out of here." The cop then seals his fate. She asks the patient if she wants this person removed from the apartment, and did she ever give consent for him to enter. The patient's response is, "Get him the F out, he's trespassing." The cop gives him one last chance, and tells him to leave or he's gonna be arrested. Now the guy doubles down and says, "I'm on the HOA board, I can go anywhere I please." At this point, backup's called. The cop manhandles him out of the room. The ambulance arrives with police backup, and they get him out of the apartment so we can safely remove the patient. Now, I'm not entirely sure what happened next, as I was in the back of the ambulance. But when I got back out, one of the officers approaches and says, "Sorry, but we need another bus. We had to tase him." Now, the policy for the police department is if they tase someone, they have to be transported to the hospital by ambulance, as taser spikes have to be surgically removed due to the barbs on them. I found out a few weeks later that he was charged with trespassing, assaulting an officer, resisting arrest, and interference with government administration, also known as interfering with the scene of an emergency, all over a parking space that I would have been in and out of in 20 minutes if he hadn't created problems. I can only assume he took a plea deal, as I was never called to testify. Some people, right? Guys, I've read so many stories about people yelling at paramedics and firemen trying to do their job. Like, yes, sometimes these vehicles might be blocking the road for a little bit, but do these people not comprehend that paramedics are responding to an emergency and trying to save lives? Now guys, I'm not surprised that it was an HOA board member though. Those people go on mega power trips, they don't care who it is. And that, my friends, brings us to another end of our /entitled people. Guys, I hope you enjoyed these super entitled stories today. If you did, hit that thumbs up. And if you missed that last episode on the channel, I'll link it right here. A tourist Karen fakes a tantrum because she didn't get served first. It's such a crazy story, so check it out if you haven't. And myself and Stevie Boy will see you guys in the next one. We love you.